Ciao, ciao, dosto. Welcome to a new video. And with me, I have Rohit, a Milan fan. You might be knowing Rohit from Twitter. He's very, very popular there. He's got a lot of followers. How many followers do you have, Rohit? Just out of curiosity, right now on Twitter.
10.5K.
Oof. So you have 10,500 folks tuned into Rohit for his, thoughts, his analysis on various aspects of the game, but with a very Rossonero point of view because his team is Milan, AC Milan, and you have a big clash this weekend between Milan and Roma, and of course the two players for our generation especially that symbolize what Milan stands for or what Roma stands for are of course Paolo Maldini and Francesco Totti. So in this video, we'll be talking about these two legends, these two icons of Serie A, of Italian calcio, who have been our childhood heroes, and we obviously still admire them to the day. Starting with you, Rohit, what was it like? I'm sure that you fell in love with Milan because of Paolo Maldini to some level. So what was it like, your first memories of seeing this Greek god of a defender with his long hair and that aura, suit up in a Rossonero kit?
It was awesome. I remember we were discussing when I was in school. We used to discuss about Maldini and Nesta, that duo of defense and how strong they used to be. And I remember seeing Maldini in 2002 World Cup as well, but I was not familiar with the game as much.
Yeah.
But Maldini, man, what a player! What a player! 626 appearances for Milan for one club, and what 15 to 16 to 20 what 20 to 20 years at the top of your game. I think that's phenomenal. It's almost like he's like the Italian Sachin Tendulkar when you're
Yeah,
comparing him
yeah,
to cricket.
yeah.
So he's been an icon. He's been a reference point for any player. I think even these even the jealous Premier League fans always say that X player is greater than X defender is greater than Paolo Maldini, or even
Yeah.
Paolo Maldini couldn't have defended that. So he has been that reference point for any Premier League fan or any Italian fan or any Milan fan, any defender. They all look up to Paolo Maldini. They are the kind of class he had. So amazing player.
Look, for me, it was you had four gods of Italian football. You had Paolo Maldini for Milan, you had Zanetti for Internazionale, you had Alessandro Del Piero for Juve, and of course Totti for Roma. For me, these are the four pillars of Italian football. From an era when we were growing up in the early 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s, 2010s as well. Because obviously, the likes of Zanetti, Totti, and Maldini, their careers extended, well into their 40s. uh, Paulo's time, obviously, I don't want to keep it to the very obvious. We all know that he's probably one of the most exceptional defenders in world football of all time. But what are the other unknown aspects to our subscribers? Because you've been a Milanista for so long and you followed the Maldini legacy, from Cesare right up to Daniele now. What are some of his stories that are less known to the audience, and a few nuggets that you would like to share about the great man Paolo?
I think Maldini, Cesare actually had five children. I think three were boys and two were girls. And one of his brothers, Piero Maldini or something was his name. He was also a football player, but he didn't make it much.
Yeah.
But it was Paolo Maldini who actually made it to that team. And I think he was a great beneficiary of playing alongside another great like Baresi and growing alongside him, and something that I think now that modern football does not know or appreciate, I think, is how you can actually grow alongside a more experienced central defender. I mean, experienced defender. And there was even that stat which was actually debunked later about them only conceding what 24 goals in
Oh
34
yeah.
in 170, something like that. So I think if you're looking, his main strength was his intelligence.
Yeah,
Uh, nowadays, I mean, you cannot compare the football that was played those days and what is played today, because those days it was more of individual abilities and stuff, and today it's more about systems and tactics and overloads and all that kind of stuff. But when you're comparing that era, when you're playing at that era, I think in Maldini's intelligence was his main strength, that he could actually read the game. I think I have read many sports people's opinions. I think the main thing that they all are great at, whether you're in cricket or whether you're football, is that they anticipate. They're able to anticipate what their opponent is going to do next. And when you're playing against when you're playing against a Ronaldo Nazario, or I mean, in at his peak, or even at a Maradona at his peak, I think uh, your anticipation level has to be the best. And
yeah,
also, I think one more thing is that there was something called a shadow play that was invented by Arrigo Sacchi. So
yeah.
uh, it's like in training, when you're training, you're given a ball and you kick it about, right? Even just like a football match. In shadow play, Arrigo Sacchi never gave a ball. He actually just said that the ball is going to be in X place, and how are you going to behave? What are the positions that you're going to take? So that was a kind of training given to him, and he was actually up to that level of training. I mean, how can you actually position yourself without knowing where a ball is
Yeah.
in a football match as a defender? I mean, the ball is the center point of the game of football. That the entire thing is at that point. So when you're seeing that guy's intelligence level, his tactic, just not his intelligence can be broken down into tactical and technical. His tactical and technical intelligence level were all very high, and also I think he was one of the fastest players. I think he
Mm.
clocked nearly 36 kilometers per hour at the age of 38 against I
Wow.
think it was against Lecce. So when you're looking at all these things, when a player at 38 is running at I think 36 kilometers per hour, I think he was something we say as a generational player. I don't think there will be another
Absolutely.
Paolo Maldini again. I have not seen another Paolo Maldini again anywhere in Italian or English or whatever league you want.
Please debunk that myth where, which is very popular. There's a Paolo Maldini quote with this image which, keeps on going, that if you made a tackle, you already made a mistake. Is that really true?
Yeah,
Did he really say that?
I have seen. I think it's like nowadays on social media. If somebody says if somebody's I think Zlatan's quote is always the thing. I've seen many people use Zlatan's fake quote, saying that Zlatan said this about Ronaldo, Zlatan said that about Messi, and then some idiot who wants to who wants to meet his daily quota of this
Yeah,
much of articles in for newspaper, he takes it up and he writes about it, and it becomes a big thing. So those kind of things, I think that is something I have never seen Maldini say it, because nowadays you have to see a person say it live, or like Maldini said this to a Gazzetta dello Sport, like in quotes. Even that also can be made up these days. Now even with AI, you can actually make another person say what he wants. So like I have never seen Maldini say that for me. But it makes sense. It makes sense.
yeah,
If you're making a tackle, it means you have let your opponent dribble past you, for example. So
yeah,
it
yeah.
makes sense. It's a sensible quote, but it was not a thing that Maldini has said so far.
Fair enough. I think also with, Italian, a lot of things are taken out of context and translated into English. It's lost in translation.
Yes, a lot of things
So
gets lost in translation here.
that also could very well be a case. And with Paolo Maldini, the first thing I always think of is that our friend Siddharth Yadav, his profile picture has been a young Paolo Maldini since so many
A
years. Like
long
it's been
time.
20 years since he's kept the same display picture everywhere. On his Orkut profile, on his Facebook page, on his Twitter, everywhere is a young Paolo Maldini PFP. But my first memory of him was in that 2002 World Cup. Very clear memory. I did watch the Euro 2000s, but I was 2 years younger, and I have some vague memories of Italy. But the clear memory that I have is that 2002 World Cup where Brian Moreno red carded Francesco
Oh,
Totti.
even actually that was my first time I've seen Maldini.
Yeah,
Actually,
and
it
I
was a
saw
horrible
Maldini
thing.
enraged. He was almost going to beat Brian Moreno up. And Paolo Maldini, for all those who haven't watched him, he never loses his cool. This is a guy who is always zen. His aura, that is real aura, not Calafiore's. Uh, Zen mode always. But this is the first time where I saw him. He lost his head. He just came and like a kind of a dragon, just came up and kind of surrounded Brian Moreno, because it was a very controversial decision and a wrong decision in hindsight, of course. So that's my first memory of him, Paulo. And of course, in the following year, Milan did win the Champions League against Juve. So for me, I mean, literally, you miss the sun when it's starts to snow, right? At that time, watching these guys play week in and week out, the likes of Maldini, Totti, Zanetti, Del Piero as well, now they aren't there anymore, and life feels very incomplete. And I mean, when you look back at those days, those were the
No,
real good days.
Ajay, I think that's actually a big L for this league. I think that is a
Yeah,
big L for the league that somehow the you and me have recognized, but they still haven't recognized it. I mean, no, they won the Euros. Yes, I know that Italy won the Euros, but when you're looking at this team, man, like who are the defenders? I don't even know who are the defenders now.
yeah,
I can see a Buongiorno, I can see a Calafiori with aura, and okay, Dimarco is a very good player. I have
yeah.
nothing to say.
Bastoni as
Who's
well.
the right back?
Bastoni
Di
as well.
Lorenzo. I mean, Di Lorenzo is a good defender. I'm not saying but he's not what Zambrota used to be, or he's not what a Maldini used to be, or he's not. I mean, these guys used to lose class. I mean, look at the 2016 that won the World Cup.
Yep, yep, yep,
Cannavaro, Nesta. I mean, Nesta was injured, and you had Materazzi come in. You had Zambrata.
yep,
You had so many players. I mean, even and I think the biggest problem of this current team, when you're looking at the past, is that they don't actually have a good striker. Last,
yep.
I think Immobile was okay, but compared to what Luca
not not
Toni or
not when he wore Azzurri blue, man. When he was wearing a Bianco Celesti light sky blue shirt, fair enough, but not in an Azzurri shirt.
that it and I mean nobody comes close to what Del Piero, Totti, or even Pippo Inzaghi was. Not
Yep, yep,
nobody
yep,
comes close. I think it's a big L. I think it's something that shows that Italian football has fallen far behind, and
yep.
it's something that they are. I don't know why they're not ready to accept. They are like, no, no, we are right in what we are doing.
Listen,
I
Rohit,
don't know why.
if we speak on this topic, that's a separate podcast and maybe a 4 or 5 hour discussion where we can go on and on.
I
But
can go
coming
out for years. I can go out for years.
but coming back, so as a Milan fan, how did you see Francesco Totti, line up for Roma? Obviously, the similar story where he's also a local Romanista playing for his hometown club. Again, one man
So,
club. And
like you said, my first memory of Totti was him getting a yellow card in that game, where Byron
yeah,
Moreno gave a yellow card for him for diving. So
diving, my God.
diving, where he was actually tripped, and I think it was even a penalty or a free kick
Surely.
outside the
Yeah,
box.
yeah. No, it was a penalty. It was in the
It was
box,
a
and
penalty. Yes, it was a
clear
penalty.
contact. And come on, man. I mean, this is an era where you said Ronaldo, Totti, Batistuta. They were getting all the tackles in the world against the best defenders in the world in Serie A. And how can you even possibly think of simulating against South Korea, with all due respect? But go on.
Yeah, so then that was the first time I saw Totti. But when I started to get into Italian football, I'm like, wow, this guy is amazing. But I think I feel right now I think we all took all these players a little bit for granted. We
Yeah,
didn't actually realize how great they were. I mean, now that, like, when you're seeing all these okay players, I think they were gods, and like these guys are just normal people. So I think the way Totti was, and the way he carried Roma, even though Roma were not winning much, the way he stood with Roma, he was a one club man. Maldini was also a one club man, but I think he was winning a lot of trophies. I think he
Yeah,
won 26 trophies with
yeah.
AC Milan, but Totti, I think he only won that one Scudetto.
One
So
Scudetto, two
and a
two
Coppa
Coppa
Italia, right?
Italia, twice,
Yeah,
two Coppa
two
Italias.
Coppa Italias. Yes. So I mean, everybody, like I've seen many casuals, not who are not into
Yeah,
Serie A or Italian football, say like he could have won greater things if he went to another club. And I'm like, you don't understand Italian football. That's not
yeah,
how it works. That was not how it worked those days, not now. Now you have
yeah,
Verratti, who went even before tasting Serie A.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
for him to be a part of his club, and for that club and to win trophies, it's something bigger. And obviously he won a World Cup. So
yeah,
I think Totti was amazing, man. I think Totti, Maldini, Del Piero, all these players had amazing intelligent football intelligence. Their
yeah,
intelligence, and also Totti's touch. I think those
yeah,
things are not something a football coach can teach. I mean, even if you're Pep Guardiola or Jose Mourinho, whichever coach you think is the greatest of all time, I think these things, these touch, these intelligence is something that you cannot teach. It is something that you have inborn, and I don't know why Italy has not been able to produce such players after this. They're so great. Like they never needed they I mean, obviously they had great coaches. Maldini had Sacchi,
yeah.
and Totti had Zeman and Capello. But
Capello,
they
yeah,
had, yes, Capello. So I mean, even though I think Capello came when he was already in his 24, 25 years old, so when he was
yeah,
already developed. So
yeah,
you cannot teach these things to those players. The touch, I mean, his finish, that the loud finish that he did against
yeah.
Inter, that is not something you can teach. That courage he had, the finish, and amazing. What a player! I mean,
You know, Rohit,
if any team had a player,
sorry, this is a story that I keep on telling everybody. I don't know whether you've heard this or you've seen this, but I really want to repeat it. And in case any of the subscribers haven't seen this, I think it's available on YouTube. Totti's last game at the Olympico. Okay, so God was kind. I could get an opportunity to go there. There is a ball which is in the air, hanging in the air. Okay, and it's somewhere in the middle of the park, near the actually right in the middle of the park. uh, Genoa sitting back, low block, so it's Roma in possession. The ball is falling down. Now a normal footballer would either chest it down, bring it down, or take it down, or maybe head it back or forward. Use these three parts. You know what Totti does? He just bends back, allows the ball to roll down his back, and instinctively he knows that De Rossi is behind him, and De Rossi recycles possession. So, as you rightly mentioned, this is you can't teach this. This is just instinct and that intelligence. Where I mean, and the whole Olympic was like, whoa, because that is probably one of the last pieces of magic that he did in his glittering career in Rome. Man, I mean, uh, these kind of players are special, the likes of Maldini or Totti. But I interrupted your train of thought just to share. I don't know whether you've seen this, but I would recommend if you could YouTube this and check this out. In his last game
I
against
don't
Genoa.
remember. I remember I watched his last game, but I don't remember this particular thing.
Yeah. No, man, amazing. In fact, speaking of last games, we had obviously Paolo Maldini also play his final home game against Roma, a game that even I remember very well. Not for the right reasons as well, in terms of the Milan fans. I'm not getting into that, but what were your feelings as a Milanista to watch Paolo Maldini? Firstly, his last home game was against Roma, and then I think you all finished away to Fiorentina, which was his final game in a Milan shirt.
Yeah, I think it. I think it was kind of a moment where I think it was just like how Sachin retired for us. It was a heartbreaking moment, and questions were like who's gonna be the next one. And one thing I really in hindsight I think we missed out as Milan fans were that we couldn't see another player play like see when Maldini came he had Baresi with him, but when Maldini was about to retire. We didn't have another player to play
Yeah,
alongside a younger player to play alongside him, and maybe I don't think anybody can be the next Maldini, but maybe be something else. We don't have a Sachin Tendulkar, we have a Virat Kohli, so something like that. So I think that was one big missed opportunity that that Berlusconi and Galani didn't do at that time. But
yeah,
to see a player like Maldini retire, there were more questions than answers at that time. Like who is gonna be the next big thing and and again I think in hindsight I didn't expect football to be like what it is now, and
yeah.
players are not there. I don't think there is a player on his level anymore. Maybe it is because of the way that football has changed, where there are more systems and there are differences. But I don't think there is not just Maldini. I think even Totti or Del Piero or even a Zidane or a Maradona, there are no players of that level. You have players who are extremely mechanical and who possess. I don't know if their intelligence is changed, but it's very difficult to find such players.
Fair. I think I can we can rename this video into two millennials talking about nostalgia and the good old days because there is this term called nostalgia merchants, but trust me, I don't think so. When it comes to these two players, you need to apply that because both of them are legends in their own rights, stalwarts in their respective clubs, and of course
Also,
you have
I think I missed out one big thing. I think there's a huge misconception among all these Pep Guardiola fans that it was Messi who invented the false nine position, but it was
yeah
actually it was started by Spalletti. It was
Spalletti.
actually
Yeah,
started in 1930s, but
yeah,
Spalletti is the one who brought it into the mainstream with
yeah.
Totti playing that 4-6-0 formation. So
I
I think he
just
does not get enough credit.
yeah, I just did a video with Zishan of Talk Football HT. So we
Okay.
spoke about this in depth about the Spalletti Totti, bringing the false nine back into the mainstream, like you mentioned, and
Yeah,
he's got.
I actually had written an article as well. Like think 1.5 years back.
I think this was for the hard tackle or
No, it was
the
for GIFN.
GIF. Oh yes, yes, yes. I remember reading that article of yours. I totally remember because yeah, it's a fantastic kind of innovation, but it was needed back in the time because Roma had a transfer ban, couldn't sign any players, and all the strikers were injured. And of course, Spalletti was going through a rough phase as the Roma coach, and within that change, Roma went on a run of 11 consecutive wins, which was a record back in the day. And of course, I think Inter kind of ended that run in the 12th game, a late goal by Materazzi at home. But yeah, I mean, there are so many facets, so many interesting nuggets about Serie A and Italian football. We can go on and on, but I think this is a good time to end this video. Speaking about Paolo Maldini and Francesco Totti for a very brief moment in time, because Rohit, you know that we can go on for, like you mentioned, days about these two gentlemen, of our clubs. And thank you for joining in, man. And for those of you who are still watching the video, Rohit is on Twitter. You can follow him at the rate Carolista. You can see the handle name. It is over there. He's got 10,500 followers. Posts a lot about tactics and analysis, especially of Milan games. And we have done a preview on Calcio Churcha of the Serie A game week 18. So you can go and watch that as well. Before I close this video, Rohit, what is that one Paolo Maldini moment that you will always cherish? That you will remember that for all your life. One moment that you have to pick out.
I think it has to be him lifting the 2007 Champions League.
Fair, fair, fair. With that, it's time to say Arrivederci. Thank you so much for joining in, and good luck for the game. The game is on Sunday night, Milan versus Roma. We've given our predictions on the Calcio Churcha game week 18 predictions, and until next time, I'm Ajay Menon. That is Rohit. It's ciao ciao, Arrivederci from both of us.